Greetings and welcome to Hexed Countered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be doing some tactical gameplay from the game Infernal Machine, Dawn of Submarine Warfare. This is from GMT Games and is designed by Ed Ostermeyer and Jeremy White. The game takes kind of a programmed learning approach to teaching the game. The rule book is broken up into three parts. First part is tactical rules. Second part, mission rules. Third part, campaign rules. We will be playing part one, tactical rules. There are three scenarios in the scenario book that cover this, and this is the aforementioned scenario book, and you can see there are three scenarios, 1, 2, 3. There are many scenarios, but you can see scenarios 1, 2, 3 here, giving you three kind of progressive options to learn how the system works, starting with the tactical, then moving on to missions, and ultimately to the campaign, which is, of course, where the meat of the game is. But it is worthwhile to learn the game as we go along. So this first scenario is A New Age Dawns. It is in Charleston, South Carolina, 17th of February, 1864. This is the famous mission of the H.L. Hunley, which went out and attacked the USS Housatonic, which was a sloop. It is represented by this marker here. This represents the Hunley. This is our tactical board, of course. This is the torpedo that was basically utilized by the Hunley. It's got a long spar with a big charge on the end of it, a large charge. Charges come in small, medium, and large in this game. And you also have different lengths of spars as well. You can see here on the tactical map, we'll go over this in a moment, but the idea is we're going to approach, and once we're close enough, we will detonate our charge and hopefully sink the sloop, which is what happened historically, and then hopefully make it back to home, which is not what happened historically. They give us helpfully kind of a walkthrough here. So we're going to use the walkthrough. Now, you have fate cubes, which come in the form of black and white. There is a cup that you draw them from, which you're supposed to draw them blindly. So we start with that. Then we start in this area here. We're going to first roll for our approach vector. So these are the approach vectors. Our fishboat starts detected. This is the fishboat marker. It's a block. You've got the detected side and the undetected side here. So we're going to sit this right here, and then we're going to roll to determine which vector we're going to begin with. And the game uses 10-sided dice. There are 3 of them. We're only going to use 1 here. And our first die roll, as listed in the example of play, is a 5. Now the 5, you give an additional 3 for your training level, this is just what's assigned. Now, when you're actually playing the full game, you'll have training for your crew and all that stuff. But for this scenario, we're going to assume that it is a 3. Now we're going to select the strain, crank intensity, okay, which is right here, and you have these kind of generic green blocks that you can place on there to determine there is a cost in terms of fatigue, which is what these Fs mean, as well as adding red cubes, which are kind of the bad cubes, to the fate pool, which increases the chances of something bad happening, whether it's during the mission or on the return. So in this case, we will select the strain, which is like 2 fatigue plus 3 red cubes. So I'm going to put this on here. We get 2 fatigue markers, which look like this. So they're basically counters. You're going to put these. I'm going to put these down here so we know that we've got fatigue. We're going to add a 3rd red cube to the pool, and we are going to now go on to step 2 and roll for detection. Oh, well, we rolled a 5, and then we got a +3 for our strain, which made it an 8, and a +3 for training, which makes it an 11. And then 11 is this vector right here. So we're just going to put our fishboat there. Now we are detected, as I mentioned. So we're going to roll again for detection. And then we will subtract 1 for the alert level of the enemy. In this case, that is set at 5. And we roll a 6 in this case. Whoops, that's a 4. There's the 6, which gets modded to a 5, which means the fishboat is detected. Now, the fishboat had already been detected, so that's going to trigger an enemy response. This means the fishboat is going to be attacked by the enemy. So with the alert level at 2 now, or at 2, sorry, the player must roll 2 attack dice and needs to roll a 5 or higher to avoid hits. So I'm going to take 2 dice, we'll roll them, and we get a 2 and a 9. So that is 1 hit. So the player will choose crank full intensity full, which allows them to re-roll the 2, which garners a 4. And that means that after adding another fatigue, the fishboat suffers 1 hit. Now you have tables and so on that you look at when you're doing this, of course. And in this case, when you do an enemy response, it's actually on this ship marker in this case, right? So you can see basically your numbers here, and we are in far and we are awash, so that's why the number was a 5. Okay, so just to clarify that there. So we get an extra fatigue and a hit, and then we'll have to roll to determine the effect of the hit. So here's our 3rd fatigue. Now we have the hit to figure out. So the way hits are worked out, okay, hit effects, you roll a die, and if you get an even, then you get a random malfunction, and if it's odd, you get a leak. There's more advanced stuff in there about if the fishboat doesn't have a hatch, instead of a leak, an odd number would kill a randomly selected crewman. So in this case, we're going to roll, and we got a 6, and a 6 in this case is, of course, an even number, so that means a malfunction. So we're going to place a malfunction marker on the fatigue markers. Now, there's not going to be any immediate effect to from any of these 2-hour playthrough here, but if you were playing a mission or the campaign, there would definitely be consequences. This is a malfunction marker, so I'm going to tuck that right there with the fatigue and move on to the next step. So we are in the far zone, and we are too distant to detonate the torpedo, so we skip the detonation phase, obviously. Now, during the move phase, this fishboat can move into the near zone. So you see far, near, and contact, and then there's other side on that side. So we're going to push forward here to near, and you see long spar here, which indicates that we can actually use the long spar. Okay, so during the detonation phase, the player makes a detection check again, rolling a die and subtract 1 for alert level and 1 for being in the near zone. And we roll 5, and that's modded down to a 3, which means again we're detected, and again we trigger enemy response. With the enemy alert level at 2, the player must roll 2 attack dice. A 6 or higher is needed to avoid a hit. We get an 8 and a 5. So we again put our crank intensity at full, which is going to allow us to re-roll the 5. And this time, luckily, we get a 7, which means after adding another fatigue for, again, using full crank, so now we're at 4 fatigue, the fishboat isn't hit. Since both attack dice missed, the player attaches a pursuit marker to the fishboat. This is a pursuit marker, and what this does is it gives another -1 modifier to the detection roll, as well as, what was the other one? I forget. Let me look. Enemy response. So your enemy response roll and your detection roll. Okay, so we're getting close now to actually deploying our weapon. So we are in the detonation phase, and the player may attack the target. You can wait for the next turn, but feeling a sense of urgency brought on by the sloop's response, they choose to pull the trigger now. Fishboat is located on the 11-12 approach in the near zone, which means the player resolves the torpedo detonation by drawing 3 cubes from the fate pool. All right, so we're going to do that. And we draw 2 reds and a black. And the result requires a die roll. Here you look at what you got, right? Here's on our detonation table. So you've got 2, and we have a large charge, so we get a B4. Now, B4 Roll a die. If the number rolled is 4 or greater, the result is B. If less, the result is S. Okay, and we'll talk about what that means here in a moment. We roll, and we get an 8, which is greater than the 4 needed to score a successful result. A big hole is blasted in the hull of the sloop because the result's a B. Now we have to check the concussion, which is the effect of the explosion on the fishboat itself. So we're going to flip over the spar value here to see the value. Right, so you see this here, and you've got concussion, and you see charge. Our charge is large, and we are awash, so we're in that 10 box. There's a lot of lookups that are involved just looking at row and column here. So 10, because we're a large charge at the end of our long spar. So we know that there is 1 red and 2 black cubes left in the fate pool. So we have to select a crank intensity to give us a die roll modifier, right? So crank intensity will determine the value of each cube drawn from the pool. They select strain, which triggers 2 more fatigue, making 6. Now these were hand cranked. There was no engine, which is why we're talking about how hard they're cranking, right? The harder you crank, the faster the propeller turns. Okay, so now we'll roll a die again, and we get a 7 this time, which is not enough to avert a lost result. So now we're going to draw a cube from the fate pool to increase that number. The player does not have to decide or declare at the start the number of cubes they will draw. They draw 1 at a time and will stop when they succeed or when the cup is empty and they're lost. The first cube we draw is a red one, the third red one. That adds +1 to their die roll. So our concussion modifiers are right here. Okay. Each cube, right? We are in the near and other side. We're at full strain. Red cube gives you a +1. Black cube will give you a +2. Okay, so we're going to draw another cube. And now we got that's a black, of course, because that's all that's left. And that gives us a total of +3, which means the 7's now a 10 and the lost result is averted. But the red cube also triggers a malfunction. So we add another malfunction marker. Okay, now we go to the scenario end. The player consults the RTB table, which is in page 4 of the scenario book. So it's scenario specific. And this is it for this particular scenario. Okay, so you can see what it looks like there. And because our fatigue is more than 2 and our malfunctions are 2 or more, the cross-reference there is an N. And N means we don't think the fishboat's going to make it back. And that completes this playthrough. And so you can see that this was actually the historical result of the Hunley, right? They blew a big hole in the sloop, but they never made it back. It was like 130 years later, they finally raised the wreck of the Hunley. And no one really knows what went wrong, just that they ended up sinking and did not make it back to harbor. We will now push on and do scenario number 2, which is damnable wall. And you can see hypothetical scenario in Mobile, May of 1864. If you want to read it, I'll leave this here for the moment. You can pause and read it. But the gist of it, for those of you who don't want to read, is that we are going to be a Union fishboat, the USS Alligator, I believe it is, and we're going to go up into Mobile Bay and try to break and fixed obstruction. And to do that, we have a tow cord here instead of, and it is equipped with a large charge, instead of a spar. So we're going to tow it, and it's connected to the stern, and it is released after detonation. So below shallow, required for target check. Okay, so here is the obstruction and torpedo marker. It is used for both sides. Like the other, like all of the targets, it's going to have this on the back. It'll tell you your values for where you are, and you know the effect that it could have. So as we start off our starting conditions, will be our choice of crank intensity. We are not detected. Fishboat starts in the far zone. We're going to have 2 black and 3 red cubes in the fate pool. Our alert level is 2, which means a -1 detection die roll modifier. Visibility is bright. Our elevation is below. So this is true submerged as opposed to a wash, which is what the Hunley was. Training level's 1, so we get a +1 approach check. For morale, no crewmen's panic, no spaces are incapacitated, and there are no atmospheric markers in play. All right, so for setup, we place our target marker, which we already did. Then we roll a die to place the fishboat marker. Now, this one is not pre-scripted, so I'm going to actually play it out. We've got an 8. Okay, so that would put us here. Now, we do get a +1, which is still short, being a 9. Now, because we're at 9, and this is up to 10, we would need 2 to move us to here. So we're going to put a full, and we're going to pick up a strain and a red cube. I'm sorry, a fatigue and a red cube. So we get an extra red cube that goes in the cup. Our starting pool, as I mentioned, is 2 black and 3 red cubes. So we are here again, right? This is probably your best approach, but we will, we're going to come in the same way we just did with, and we're not detected, so we can be on that side. So we're sneaky this time, and we're going to get in there, hopefully, and blow up this obstruction. Now, this one is a little different because we're towing the charge, we have to go past the target onto the other side, right? You see tow cord, below shallow only. So we have to go through and then, so we're going to have multiple detection checks as we move forward, right? And then once we get over here, we can detonate, detach, and then see if we can escape and return home. Okay, so we're going to move to our detection now, and here's the detection table. And I didn't put the marker, but our we're bright, not dim and inky. So our number is we're below, so our number is 7. Now you look here, and alert level is a 1 or 2 rather. So we get a -1 for that. We also get a -1 for the tow cord, and nothing else matters. So we get a -2. So basically, we need to roll a 9 to avoid detection. And we rolled a 10. So we avoid detection, and we can move to the near zone. And then we're going to roll for detection again. With the same thing, I think. We get a -1 here. Now we need a 10 itself to avoid detection. And not even close. We got a 2. So we obviously we don't I'm not going to go through all of the effort of putting a bunch of fatigue on the crew here. We're just going to accept the fact that we've been detected. I'm going to flip this to detected. And now we have to roll for our attack here. So we flip this guy over, and you can see we're in the far zone, so it's a 3 for a hit. Now with an alert level of 2, we roll 2 dice. And we got a 10 and a 4. So both of those are above the needed value. So we have 2 misses. So that was good, right? So now we have to move closer again into the contact zone. And we're going to get a -2 now for detection. And so -2 plus the alert level -1 plus the towed torpedo gives us a total of a -4. So it's impossible. We rolled a 1, so we definitely got detected. So we're going to do our attack sequence again. So checking our here. So now we are at contact. Actually, I think, well, there's 2 things I think I messed up. Okay, so we weren't far, we were near, and we did roll a 4, so that would have been a hit. But according to the rules, it seems that if you are detected, you don't get attacked until you move to the next zone. So But now we're at a 6. Okay, so we're going to roll 2 dice again. And we got a 4, so that's a hit. And the other die is a 10. So we got 1 hit. So now we have to determine what that hit is. We roll here, and we got a 6, which is even. And that means we get a malfunction. So we put our malfunction on there. Now we could have I could have chosen crank intensity. I guess I was just kind of by default using easy. Because I'm not really interested in trying to put more fatigue on the crew at the moment. Okay, now that we've got here, we're going to move to the other side so that we can get to the actual detonation here. So first we roll for detection again. So now at this point, it's a 7 minus 1 for that, and minus 1 for the tow cable, and minus 1 for the die roll modifier. So let's see what we get. We get a 1. That's going to definitely be detection again. So we are again going to be attacked. And we get a 5 and a 4. Now this one is the same as near, because you see other side. So that's a 4. So in this case, I think we are going to use full. I'm going to add a strain, but I only need a +1. If full, you may re-roll 1 die of strain. You may re-roll as many as you want. We're going to re-roll 2. So we're going to go strain. That's going to give us 2 more fatigue and another red cube, I think. Oh, and that worked actually. Because both are now over the hit number, so we are good. All right. So now I have to add my fatigue. So 2 fatigue, but we don't have to add a red cube. Okay, so now we're here. We go to the detonation phase. Okay, so we have 2 cubes here. So we're going to draw 2. Actually, we only have to draw 1 cube for being on the other side. So we draw 1 cube out of the cup. So let's see what we get here. All right, we got 1 red and 1 black. Okay, so 1 red, 1 black. So our detonation table, we got 1 red. We have a large charge, so it's a B. We don't have to roll anything. We've successfully detonated it. But we do have to do the concussion check. Okay, so looking at the target here, on the back we have the concussion. And it says all miss, you roll 4 or more to avoid an explosion. And the concussion value is a 15, so that is a very large number. We will go with strain, which is going to give us an additional 2 fatigue. So that brings us to 5. And we'll see how we do here. Our concussion table on the other side, actually we only needed to do full. Oh no, because if we draw red, then there are still multiple reds in the cup. So we're going to start drawing cubes out here. And at strain, if we draw black, we get a +2, and a red, we do +1. But let me roll the die. Now, the values are 15, so we're going to need a +5, even if we roll it. Oh. All right, so I'm going to say we got hit by the, we got detonated there from the concussion. So I don't think we can, we're not even going to draw cubes at this point because we're going to be destroyed. So we do not make it home. Detonation result, yeah, we with the concussion, the fishboat and the crew, the boat is lost. Fishboat destroyed, crewmen die, escape not possible. So that ends that. Okay, so this one, scenario 3, just like pearl diving, takes place in the James River of May 1862. And when I talked about USS Alligator in scenario 2, that's incorrect. There was no name on that particular boat because it was hypothetical. The USS Alligator is the one that undertook this mission. So this was the Yankee fishboat known as the Submarine Propeller, and later as USS Alligator. Sported the latest equipment. Its airlock was large enough to accommodate a diver and an explosive charge known as a torpedo, connected by an umbilical cord to the Alligator for air. The diver was to leave the submerged fishboat while at rest and walk to the target. In the spring of 1862, in support of McClellan's Peninsula Campaign, the plan was to destroy the railroad bridge linking Petersburg to Richmond, thereby interfering, perhaps decisively, with Confederate reinforcements reaching the front lines. The Alligator was towed into launch position on the river, but the commander of the naval squadron ordered the mission aborted, anxious the water level was not high enough for stealth. The attendant risk of grounding was also considerable in his estimation, but in the scenario, we allow you to play out what might have been. So this was an aborted mission, but we're going to try to take out this railroad bridge, which is right here. So it is small, has a -2 approach check. It also has a strong there. So we'll talk about what that means when we get to it. And it does have its attack values on the other side. We start in the far zone, and as is usual, we will start with our approach vector roll. Our starting conditions, right? Crank intensity, that's our choice as usual. Detection is no. Fishboat marker starts in the far zone. You get 3 black and 2 red cubes in your fate pool. Alert level is 0. Excellent. No detection diral modifier. Visibility is dim, which I have actually marked. Our elevation is a wash, which I have also marked. This is the way you're supposed to do it. The training level is 1, so we get a +1 approach check modifier. No crewmen's panicked, and no spaces are incapacitated, and no atmospherics are in play. Our objective is to score a B or destroyed result on the target. This would represent catastrophic damage to one or more supports, rendering the bridge unusable. A small hull or S damage result will not impress Admiral DuPont, but it will invigorate the crew and perhaps even keep your commission in the U.S. Navy. First thing is the roll for the approach vector, which we get a 7. Boom. We had 1 for our training level, making it an 8, and subtract 2 for the target size, being small, and selects easy crank, so our result is 6. That puts us here. Okay. Now we're going to roll for detection. So we'll take this, we'll roll, and we get a 6. Okay, subtract the alert level is 0. So that still is a 6, which means the fishboat is not detected. If you look at detection, we're in the dim inky, we're awash, the number is a 6. So we were successful in keeping it equal to or below that number. During the move phase, the player will deploy his diver and his charge. So this is the diver and the charge. Now we get to the detection phase again. The player moves, or we have to roll again, of course. And this time, bad luck, we roll a 2. So now we are detected. We have to flip them over. And the diver's in the far zone and too distant to detonate the torpedo, so they skip the detonation phase. So technically, like these two are supposed to be with the boat, right? Because they're tethered. So the boat has to approach as well as the diver with his charge. Oh, actually, during the move phase, the fishboat does not move, and the diver carries the charge to the near zone. So he's going to move here. Now, during the detection phase, the player makes a detection check, again, rolling a die with no modifiers. And this time, even worse, we roll a 1. So we roll a 1, which means the fishboat's detected again, which triggers enemy response, and the attack dice must be rolled. The alert level is just 1. So, it's 0 actually. So we only have to roll 1 die, and we roll a 5. And I'm sorry, I was pointing at the detection table there, but we rolled a 5. So you're looking at the back of this, right? So we rolled a 5. We are in the near area, which actually we're in the far. Yeah, so we avoid the hit, but we do get a pursuit marker. So we'll put the pursuit marker there. Okay, so note the diver is not involved in this enemy response. The enemy only targets the fishboat. So because we're out in the far zone, the fishboat being detected is a problem, but not as much as it would be as we get closer here. So the diver is in the near zone and still too distant to detonate the torpedo. So we again skip the detonation phase. During the move phase, the fishboat doesn't move and the diver carries the charge to the contact zone. Okay, so there's the diver and his charge. He is in the contact zone. Now we go to the detonation phase, or detection phase, I'm sorry. The detection roll here. We're going to roll our die again. For our detection roll, we get a 7. It's modified to a 6. And the fishboat's no longer detected. So we can flip it back to its undetected side. But we do have to keep the pursuit marker. Now in the move phase, the diver attaches the charge marker to the target. Let's put this on here. During the detection phase, the player rolls a 10 this time for detection, which gets modified to a 9 because of the pursuit marker. The fishboat remains undetected. During the next move phase, the diver moves back to the near zone. And during the detection phase of the next, or during the next move phase, he moves to the near zone. Then we roll the detection phase again. We get a 9, so we'll keep rolling well, which becomes an 8. 9 becomes an 8, which again is undetected. So now the diver will move to the far zone. Fishboat doesn't move. Unfortunately, the fishboat will again evade detection during the next check and thus remain undetected. During the next move phase, the diver moves back into the fishboat's airlock, which means we can set this aside for now in this particular scenario. And now we have the detonation phase. The player may attack the target. We draw 3 cubes from the fate pool as noted on the diver marker. If you look at the diver marker, you see 3 cubes. So we're going to draw 3 cubes, and we're going to get 2 black and 1 red. 2 black, 1 red. They must shift the result 1 column to the right because the bridge is a strong target. That means that we have to move it from here to here. Charge type is medium. So it went from being a B, which is the result we want, to an S, which is a small hole. So the target's damaged but not destroyed. Now we have to do the concussion check. Concussion value on the diver is a 6. So you look at the diver here. Concussion mark is a 6 because it is a small, or medium rather, so 6. Okay, so our concussion value is a 6. We set the crank intensity with only 2 cubes still in the pool. Is that right? 3. Yes, that is right. There are only 2 left in the pool. So I'm going to put it on strain. That is going to add 2 fatigue markers. And we roll our die. And we get a 4, which means we're 2 short of survival because we needed a 6. So the red cube gives them, we draw now, right? From getting 2 fatigue markers, they roll a die. A 4 means they are 2 short, so we will draw a cube. And we draw a red cube. So that gives +2 for strain, crank, intensity in the far zone. The crew survives, but the +2 gives us a 6. So the crew survives, but we get a malfunction marker. Oops. Malfunction marker. So the scenario ends. The player consults the RTB table, which is in the scenario book, and notes the outcome N. It's unlikely the crew will make it back home. Here is the RTB table. Our fatigue is 2. Our malfunctions is 1. That is an N, which means not likely that they will survive. Right? And then if you looked at this, you've got your detonation result with an N, so there's no promotion for the captain. And that ends this scenario, and that ends the tactical scenarios here in the scenario book. The next one would be a mission scenario, and that's a little bit more involved, so we will not do that as part of this video. But I think depending on the reception that this gets in terms of views and likes and all that good stuff, if you want to see that, then make sure you give this a thumbs up. help its visibility. Get, the more views, the more likes that this video gets, the better the chance that I will do some mission stuff, and maybe even campaign stuff. I do plan. I'm enjoying this actually, so I am probably going to continue to play it. But it is a lot easier for me to just play this than it is for me to do video while I play it. So it's up to you guys. If you want to see more, shout it out. Let me know. Otherwise, I do want to thank you for watching. If you watched all three and made it this far, awesome. Thank you again very much. Quick shout out, as always, to my channel members, the Hexed and Countered levels. If you're interested in information on that, click the join button and you'll see a video and get some information about it. Otherwise, we are done here. If you have questions or comments, post them. Again, I ask if you'd consider liking, sharing, hyping, or possibly even subscribing to the channel. Even if you don't do any of those things, hopefully you will come back and check out something in the future. But for now, we are done. I'm out of here. I'm Joe. This is Hexed and Countered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.